All right, that's a heck of an intro. A little beatboxing to start. I can't beatbox. I can't sing. I can't dance. So we're gonna. Apparently, I'm good at whispering, which is not something you're gonna figure out. I'm loud and I'm fast talking, and I'm excited to be here. We are way forward in my presentation. So let's go back. So one of the things you can guarantee with video and technology is everything will go wrong. And so we're going to start off there. We're going to start off here on the presentation. But like you said, my name is Brian Fanzo, and I want to kind of bring you guys on a little bit of a journey. And I'm actually local. Funny enough, I flew in from San Francisco, where I spoke yesterday at an event called eTourism Summit. And then this afternoon, I'm flying to Orlando, where I'm hosting a dinner and keynoting at an event called the Association of, I have to get this right, the Association of Distribution and Manufacturing Technology Innovation. So I get to do a little bit of everything. I'm very blessed for that, and I actually live in Manassas here. So I left my car at the airport when I landed last night, so I could make my way here and then make my way down there. And part of the thing that I love, especially when I get to speak at local events, is kind of tell a story that kind of put this a little bit in perspective when it comes to video. And part of that is I want you guys to kind of think about it in a bigger realm, because video is not something that was natural for me, but I do believe we're living in the greatest time in history. And so these are my three daughters. I'm a dad of three girls. I have a 9-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 5-year-old. And I actually like to say I have 4 daughters. My girlfriend has a 2-year-old in Atlanta as well. So I have lots of girls in my family, lots of fun in that environment. And for me, I do believe we're living in the greatest time in history. And it's kind of hard to say sometimes based on the polarizing world that we live in, especially here in local Washington, D.C. But when we think about it, for me, I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, hence the yellow shoes, hence the yellow hat, the yellow slides. When you're from Pittsburgh, you kind of just bleed the colors everywhere. If anyone that knows anybody from Pittsburgh, it's pretty apparent. But one of the things that I think is pretty amazing is growing up in Pittsburgh, for me, my exposure to the world was at Pittsburgh and Virginia Beach, because we went to vacation on Virginia Beach, because it was the longest drive you could go. It was 9 hours from Pittsburgh to Virginia Beach. We ended up moving to Virginia Beach, which is where I ended up going to high school, and then graduated from Radford University. And so for me, like my friends and family in Pittsburgh, their exposure to the world is very, very limited. But for my daughters, I'm actually very lucky. These gentlemen are here from Amsterdam, one of my favorite areas to travel. But also, I love to travel to Australia, and one of my business partners is actually in Australia. And my daughters know what Vegemite is, because they're able to Skype with one of my business partners' kids. And so the idea for me is that we are living in kind of the greatest time in history. But for me, at kind of figuring that out, I want to take you back on a little journey. And this is 2005. I actually worked for BAE Systems for DISA. I was a DISA government contractor in cybersecurity for 9 years. I was based out of the Pentagon for a little while, based out of Alexandria for a while as well. And I was able to travel to Iraq 3 times, Afghanistan twice. And when I worked for the military, I actually traveled to 54 countries at the time, over 4 years, pretty much every U.S. military base outside the United States. To this day, I've actually traveled to 76 countries. My goal is 100 before I turn 40, so I have 2 years left to catch up these last couple of countries. But when I was in Iraq, and being the 1%er, I was the 1%er in BAE Systems that was not ex-military. I was the gentleman that I actually happened to be wearing my fraternity letters at a grocery store in Reston, Virginia. And the person in front of me was like, "Hey, I know that fraternity. You went to Radford." We had a conversation, and he asked me, he's like, "Do you know cybersecurity?" I was like, "Nope." And he was like, "Do you know what a vulnerability is?" I was like, "Nope." And he was like, "Well, the good news is you don't have to unlearn anything." And he's like, "Can you get a clearance?" And I was like, "I have no idea. I just graduated college. I don't think I've done anything bad enough that I can't get a clearance." And that was kind of my gateway. I was able to get a security clearance there, out of a grocery store line. It turned into a job that I ended up growing into a 32-person team. We ran a $19 million budget where I traveled the world doing 4 training classes a week on cybersecurity. And my job, I like to say, was probably one of the hardest jobs out there. And I'm going to caveat that with, my job was to work with the different branches of the military to collaborate and share cybersecurity policies. So I would go in and ask the Army to share their policies with the Navy. As you can imagine, that goes over really well. And then this is Cybersecurity 2005. But my first trip to Iraq was beyond inspiring to me. I fell in love with the Middle East. And really, the Middle East became something for me that was so much different than what the media had presented to me, so much different than what I had known growing up. And I got to work with different active duty military members. For me, the interesting thing was, at the time, cybersecurity wasn't something that a lot of people wanted to be in. And so I would ask those that were in my class, like, how did you get put into this specialty as cybersecurity? And someone would say, like, I have no idea. Other ones would say, I put iTunes proficiency on my entry paperwork, and they're like, oh, iTunes, cybersecurity, controlling the drone network over Afghanistan, sure, why not, right? And so for me, it was really amazing. I had this opportunity to be there, and it was kind of my first foray into, I want to share stories. I want to tell this, because I remember writing back to my parents and like, Dad, Iraq isn't like what you thought of. My 12th time to Kuwait, I realized that I hadn't used a map for an entire 2 weeks in Kuwait. I could navigate the entire country of Kuwait without needing a map. And for me, it was super exciting. I could share this. And I wanted to blog, and I actually, if you guys know what this blogging site is, it doesn't exist now, but this was Blogger. And as you can tell, I had a lot of followers back then, 5. One of them is me, so I was following myself. One was my ex-wife, and then 3 like ones that don't really count, which more than likely is probably my mom and my 2 brothers. So that was like the number of followers I had. But I went back to my company, BAE Systems, and said, you know what, I want to blog on our website. I want to share these stories that I discovered in Iraq and Afghanistan. I want to tell the stories. And I can tell you, I went to Radford. I loved college. I just hated class. Like, really hated class. I was not a great student, and grammar was not my specialty. I barely got into school in that sense. And so writing, I took a lot of time. And for me, I wrote this, this great piece on my favorite country in the world, which happened to be Bahrain. And I put this map up because I used to say Bahrain, and people would be like confused for a while. Then I'd see them looking at their phone, like, where the hell is Bahrain? It's a little island off of Saudi Arabia. And so for me, I wrote this amazing blog, amazing in my mind, about how this trip was so compelling and what we were doing and some of the stories that we had going on. And this is the email I got after I submitted the blog. And it just simply said, sorry, Brian, we love that you want to blog for us, but you write like you talk. You tell stories, you share experiences. You don't talk about marketing or sales, and we can't figure out how this is going to lead to more white paper downloads. Because we all know how exciting white paper downloads are, and that's what our goal was. And I can remember this day reading this. And this is me. That's me in Pittsburgh, and that's me, the little one here, being like kind of a goofball. I was always very set in my ways. I'm very comfortable in my own skin. And that day kicked me in the gut. I started to believe I didn't have a story to tell. And for me, social media, as social media came out, as Twitter and Facebook, I really only used them for my personal hobbies, which was playing poker and Pittsburgh sports. And so I had a Pittsburgh account where I would, angrily tweet about the Steelers losing or winning, or the Penguins or Pirates. Well, Pirates are never winning, so it was just Pirates losing. And for me, it was kind of one of those things that I would always sit back and say, this was why I wasn't telling stories. And to put it into perspective, and I'm the guy that's going to talk to you about video, but these were the 5 videos that I had up till 5 years ago. And as you can tell, they're really lots of views, 29 and 14. And my most popular video ever was a prank that one of the military members played on me. They said, Brian, you should come out here with your BlackBerry and take a video of the C-RAM that's about to shoot off here in Baghdad. And little did I know what that sounded like or felt like. It broke my BlackBerry because I took the camera like this, and it went off, and it scared me so bad it dropped. That video ended up being the most popular video I had on my YouTube channel. And so even at this time, for me, video wasn't the thing for me. But I knew I had stories to tell. I loved talking. My mom would always tell me, she's like, Brian, the thing that you do really well is you engage with audiences of all types. I was the one that was a cybersecurity major in college. I was in a fraternity, president of my fraternity, and I was the assistant captain of the hockey team. No one in the hockey team was in cybersecurity or in computer science. Nobody in computer science was in a fraternity, but for me, that was kind of the beauty of what I was able to do. And my mom asked me a question. She asked me a simple question. I'm a mama's boy, and I remember the day, and a day means a lot to me. It was November 2nd, 2013. And November 2nd, 2013, my mom just simply said, you seem to stress out about social media and video and content. I'm just curious, are you being yourself the same way that you are offline? Are you the same person on those things that you're sharing online? And I remember thinking, well, I just spent about an hour trying to create the perfect tweet. Not one of my profile pictures I have a hat on, and I stress out about a Facebook post that gets 9 likes. And it was the opposite of being authentic in myself. And that day, everything changed. At the time, I had about 2,000 followers on social media. Not many people knew me outside of my area. Over the next couple of months, I ended up getting an award as a top from The Economist as a top future business leader of the world for 25 people. They flew us around the world to different TED Talks. And I was able to get this award not because of my social media presence, which most people would reverse engineer, was actually because my boss that worked for me was on the foundation that was submitting for me, because I was scared to tell my story up until that day. I was scared to embrace video up until that day. And then as I kind of got comfortable on that, from November 2nd, it took me a while to start telling my story, embracing video. But I started to work with some big brands like Dell, IBM, Samsung, SAP. And I was on this day, March 2nd, 2015, everything changed for me on video. And for those that don't know, like March 2nd, 2015 is when the app called Meerkat came out. Does anyone know what Meerkat is? Don't worry, it died a year later. It's the app that I became the most famous on. Like, if you're gonna come famous on an app, come on famous on an app that stays around for a long time. There were the top 3 people on the app was this guy named Jimmy Fallon. You might have heard of him. The second guy was named Gary Vaynerchuk, and the third guy was me. And it was amazing, it was cool, it was kind of this crazy run, but it was the very first mobile live streaming app. It allowed you to go live to your Twitter account, it posted your video out immediately, and I loved it. And for me, part of the reason that I loved it was video scared me with YouTube because you had to SEO and do a lot of these other things, but the thing with this one was you just press the button. And I can tell you, for a lot of the people in this room, I get to work with really boring brands without stories, without causes, and try to help them find a story. Everyone in this room has a story, has passion for what they're doing, and understands the value they're creating. But I was trying to make IBM and Dell sexy to millennials. And the funny thing is, most people for the IBM would go, "Is IBM still in business?" Yeah, executives love that one when you would go in and tell people. And then I would ask them, well, where's someone under the age of 30 used an IBM solution that they knew was IBM that doesn't count for Jeopardy? Because we all knew that's like literally the only thing that generation understood. And so that day, a lot of things went crazy for me, because this picture here, I was working with Dell. Dell had hired me to be in Barcelona for this event, and this app came out. And a friend of mine texted me, so I had done video for 3 days with a video production team for Dell. Like, video still scared me individually. But I decided right there, I stood on the edge of that thing, and I typed in, I was like, oh, okay, downloaded Meerkat, and at the time I didn't realize you had to put a tweet out, so I just hit post. And so I tweeted with nothing other than the link to my video. And my very first person and only watcher, his name is Gary from Indiana. Little does he know he would have been famous. He turned off his account a little bit after but he was my only commenter on my first live video. And I had the camera out like this, and just so you know, anyone that goes live for the first time to your phone, the first thing you show every time is your shoes. Because you don't realize the back camera's on. And you're like, what? What's going on? You try to change it, and then you change it. And so I was walking, and the gentleman, Gary, said, Brian, it's so cool you're at Mobile World Congress. Is that new Samsung phone over there? Can you go over and show me that new phone? And I thought, I spent 3 days at this event creating video content for Dell, and not once did I show that phone. And not once did I ask my audience what they wanted to see. And I was like, oh my God, no. And it unfortunately has a bad ending. I walked 3 feet, the Wi-Fi dropped the end of my first broadcast, and Gary turned off his account a couple weeks later, and he doesn't realize he gets talked about on stages around the world ever since. And if anyone can figure out who Gary from Indiana is, I would love to have a drink with him, because it was that moment that I realized that video, especially social video today, is about telling stories and kind of putting yourself out there. So this was the app Meerkat. That's me with Gary. This is where you can see Jimmy Fallon. This is us on that leaderboard. I started a Google Plus Hangout show recently. Right after that, I ended up interviewing 200 people on Google Plus Hangouts, including some guy named Tony Robbins that I got to make laugh thanks to social video. And for me, one of the things that's interesting, and I kind of told that story at the beginning, and I'm going to give you guys some tips and advice on video here moving forward, is I got to now work with the Super Bowl, IBM, Dell, Samsung, Oracle, HP. And the funny thing is, they hire me for what BAE Systems told me I was doing wrong. Brian, you tell stories. You share real conversations that are happening. You bring people on a journey. You allow people to experience what's going on. And that's what I'm here to tell you guys works on social video today. It is not about being amazing on video. I am not one. I still cringe watching my own videos. And I can tell you, part of my job is doing videos for my team, for Dell and a couple of my clients. I don't watch the videos after. I have someone on my team that actually watches my videos, because if I watch the videos, I'm like, Brian, slow down. Stop talking with your hands. You're spitting. Why are you moving all over the place? And I want to re-record it 100 times. But for me, that's kind of where this all came. And so there's definitely a change. And I use my 3 daughters for this as an example, is we have to change how we think about video. Part of the thing that's interesting about video is everyone, when you start on video, hates yourself on video. Because we have a misconception that video that we create is the same as video that we watch on TV. And I'm here to tell you, we need to stop comparing ourselves to TV professional video people and start comparing ourselves to humans that are trying to tell stories and put ourselves out there. And I think that's where we have to look at this idea of change. And for me, my mantra, the book that I'm writing, or I've just finished writing, that'll be out next year, is called Press the Damn Button. Because press the damn button for me simply means we need to put ourselves out there today. Lots of us are going to take notes. Lots of us are going to talk about, wow, this is great. Maybe we do need to do video. Maybe we need to take some of the advice from the previous talks about going on social media, being a little bit more active on the web. But the problem is we talk about it, we plan about it, we wait about it, and we'll come back to this event a year from now and say, I'm still thinking about doing video, and I'm here to tell you we need to press the damn button. And part of the pressing the damn button comes into my 2 rules with social video today. And this is hard for a lot of us, and I can tell you some of the greatest examples that I'll use have embraced this. And the first one is, perfection is a fairy tale. Like, does anyone here know of a perfect brand or a perfect leader? Okay, I ask that at every event. I've yet to get really a great answer. Some people throw out Mother Teresa. Some people throw out their boss. Recently, Ryan Reynolds is who people say is the perfect side of it. But if we realize that no one's perfect, no brand, no person is perfect, why are we trying to create perfect video, the perfect social media post, the perfect website? It's interesting now that you're starting to see brands, big brands like Red Bull, they're actually taking professional video teams and putting their phones on, their cameras on gimbals to make it look less professional. They've realized that authenticity, that realness is what we crave. If someone is perfect, if someone is trying to portray perfection, I call them a liar. Because they're trying to lie to us. They're trying to hide something. Someone that's willing to share the real and the raw, it matters. And one of the organizations that I think relates here in this group is, I've been on the social council for No Kid Hungry for about 6 years now. And No Kid Hungry does an amazing job of using video to kind of connect the dots around what we're trying to do at No Kid Hungry. And what we do is we interview chefs around the United States on the different things that they can, you can be creative with different food combinations that some of the lower income areas might have in their cabinet that they might be able to cook with. And we tell these stories from the chef's point of view. We even bring the chefs to different school districts. And this idea is that we get to hear from the chefs and the chefs being creative. And these videos are shot more often than not from an iPhone. We're literally just doing this. And so it's the idea that perfection isn't our goal. The second one here is that control is an illusion. You can't control anything but yourself. You can't control what people say. I know there was a question earlier about trolls or how do you handle negativity. And there's lots of stuff, great stuff out there. My good friend, Melissa, she has a book called Crisis Ready. If you were looking for a book that kind of handle crisis management, I would never suggest a crisis management book because that sounds really boring to me. This book I actually read cover to cover. First I started it because she was a friend, and I took a picture and I was like, that's all I'm going to do. It's actually a really good book at understanding kind of how to manage and prepare for a crisis. And I actually took her advice. We were live streaming on Applebee's.com for 12 hours. And interestingly enough, about hour 6, someone came in and started trolling us from this account called TGI Fridays. Poor social media manager didn't realize he was logged in with that account. I've actually got to meet him after since. He didn't get fired, thankfully, because I think we all have to realize people make mistakes and those things happen. But that's something you have to deal with, and we were prepared for that. But it's something that you don't have to worry about from control. Now, for me, most organizations that I talk to, most companies, this is a big deal. This is something that I talk about. But I think for everyone in this room, we realize that's what it's about, right? How do we establish trust so that people want to donate, want to support, want to give their time, understand our cause? I love the comment earlier by Julia about, what is the problem that we can help solve in part of this deal? And so I believe the greatest vehicle for trust online is video. And if you're like, well, man, I don't want to do video, here's the thing. No one likes to do video. None of us really want to do a ton of video. Even me, I've done over 3,500 live streams since that very first one you guys saw at Barcelona, myself individually. And I still cringe on video. But here's the thing. 81% of all internet traffic by next year will be video. 81%. That's a Cisco Index report stat. Here's the thing. No one said it's good video. It's going to be cat videos. If you watch TikTok right now, there's lots of really bad videos on TikTok. But it all comes down to trust. And part of the thing with video that comes to trust is that people can look you in your digital eyeballs. You can't outsource a live video. You can't fake it till you make it. You can't sell unicorns and rainbows on video. And so that's something that's extremely important. The second piece of this is relatability. I asked you guys before, about the perfect person or the perfect brand. And, does anyone here believe that Matthew McConaughey drives a Lincoln? Or LeBron James drives a Kia? And funny enough, I gave a presentation last week in Detroit. You might see where this is going. And I said this comment, and I got off stage, and I was about 8 feet off stage, and I got surrounded by 7 people that were on the Lincoln marketing team, and they had their phone out. He does drive a Lincoln. It's right here in his driveway. And I was like, okay, it's in his driveway. But the reason I bring that up is that when we're looking at cars, when we're talking about what we're buying today, I'm not trusting Matthew McConaughey to what vehicle I need to buy. He can't relate to me. He doesn't know what Cheerios are like in the back seat, what my paycheck is when I have to think about how I'm buying a car. Or just recently, I had a smell in my brand new Jeep that I bought, and I couldn't figure out where the smell was going, and I moved the car seat, and sure enough, it was a yogurt drink. Oh, it was brutal. And for those that laughed, you're a parent. For those that didn't laugh, it's called birth control. That's the. But the idea for me was a celebrity is not going to relate to that. And part of influencer marketing that we're hearing out there today, and part of the reason that I'm on the social council for No Kid Hungry, is that No Kid Hungry works with us to share the story of what they're doing through our eyes. They don't give us talking points. They don't tell us what to post. We get to have a monthly meeting with the team. We get to go to the events, and they say, please share this out to your audience on what this means to you. How does this connect with your audience? And it's beautiful for us because it is the people that we relate to, and we trust people that we can relate to. Let's face it, when anyone goes to a new city, do we trust a billboard that tells us, what to eat? Or my favorite thing is, I've been to 76 countries. Every country, here's breaking news, has the world's greatest pizza. Every country I've been to, because somewhere, some marketing genius said, if you put world's greatest in front of it, everyone's going to buy it, right? And we as marketers have built that trust up to be like, well, who trusts our advice? But if I go to a new city or I go to a new place, I just came back from San Francisco, I was like, guys, I need a new sushi place in San Francisco. I posted it on Facebook with people that I can relate to. Unfortunately, I got 47 suggestions, and then I was overwhelmed with too many choices. I was like, this is worse than Google first page results, right? That's kind of the way that we have to look at this. And so video is that relatability. Now, the thing when it comes to video that I think we oftentimes get overwhelmed by is I don't look at live video or story video like Instagram stories, Facebook stories, even Snapchat. I don't look at those as the same thing as produced video. And I'm a big fan of production video. The guys that are out here that are doing this for a living, I believe production value is here to stay. I actually believe it's going to have more importance. But when I look at live video and stories, I believe they complement great production video. They complement great stories. And here's one of the things I usually have to tell companies, and especially entrepreneurs that I'm working with. For you guys, this isn't the case, but I always say that, if you guys suck offline, you're going to suck really bad on video, right? And so stop sucking or don't use video, right? That's usually kind of my hard truth of it. But for you guys here, you have great stories, you have passion, you have organizations that believe in on missions, you're having things that are coming around. But part of the overwhelming is Brian, we're a team of one. Brian, we have no budget for a production team. And I can tell you the Super Bowl hired me to bring 25 influencers out to that event. We did 20 hours of live streaming for the Super Bowl, all of it from this device, my iPhone at the time. Now, it wasn't this one with 15 cameras on the back or whatever we have now. But I did all of it from a mobile device with a team of 2, myself and one other person, and that's how we did it. So my answer to that is, if the Super Bowl was willing to do it from a mobile phone with 2 people, you don't really have an excuse for not doing it. But the piece that I want you to think about is there's a difference between creating content or creating video and documenting video or documenting experiences. One of my favorite things, I brought it up here, is I have a GoPro. And on this GoPro, GoPro is pretty amazing. It's not an expensive device anymore, about $300. You can do time-lapse video of anything great that you're doing. When someone tells me they have no time for social video, I ask them, what are you doing that's of any value offline? And they'll give me 100 things. And my answer will be, set up one of these in the corner and let it time-lapse what you're doing. That's a great place to start on video. Or maybe give someone a phone that's on your account and let them do behind the scenes on Instagram stories. One of the things we have to think about is, how do we document our experiences rather than having to always create content? And documentation of video, documentation of what we're doing comes down to 3 things: trust, training, and then the technology. The technology is the last part of this. But you have to trust the people on your team to be able to create content. And I always will say the greatest influencers are already on your payroll. They're called your employees. If they're not buying into your story and sharing your story out or putting that vision out, you don't have a marketing or video problem. You have a whole bigger problem within your organization. And so I think it's about trusting your employees to take over your accounts, tell stories. I mean, I've taken over Oracle's Instagram stories. IBM has allowed me to go live from their 3-letter IBM account that has 10 million followers on Facebook. And funny enough, they allowed me, an outsider, before they allowed an employee. And I was like, wait a second. They're like, Brian, we've been working with you 6 years. I was like, you got employees that have been working there for 16 years that have been given a paycheck, right? So this is something we have to shift our idea to this idea of document versus create. Now, the other thing we've heard a lot about is this damn goldfish. That the average attention span of today's consumers is the same of a goldfish. Have you guys heard that before? Goldfish has an 8-second attention span. I'm here to tell you that's completely crap. I mean, how many hours of Game of Thrones have we watched? Like, Peaky Blinders just came out. I had a 4-hour flight from San Francisco. I finished all 6 episodes. We have no problem consuming content. What we've figured out is that today's consumers have no time for crappy content. So just doing video for video's sake, throwing stuff up on your social media accounts just because, is what's ruined it. We've ruined this idea of, hey, it's not that people aren't watching it, because I hear this all the time, well, Brian, they're not watching our videos on Facebook. We post 8 videos a week. Who has enough content and something good to say for 8 videos a week? No brand. I don't care. I don't care if you're Apple doing amazing things. I don't care if you're doing something for an organization that we believe in. No one has that much content, and so we have to start thinking about how can we be more strategic. And that's part of the problem with my press the damn button mantra. Is all of a sudden people are like, oh, Brian, you just want us to do a lot of stuff all the time and really crappy. And I was like, no. What I want you to do is start. I want you to start figuring out what works and then build a strategy around putting that content in front of the audience. I can tell you the easiest thing, which scares most of us here in this room, is creating the content. The hardest thing is getting the content in front of the right audience at the right time. And that's something that we really have to work on. And I look at this, and this is the slogan for my book, is that empathy starts with me. I think we can all agree that we need to be more empathetic. And part of this comes down to, we need to better understand our customers, our donors. We need to understand their pain points. One of the things I love whenever I talk about Instagram strategies is it's the only platform in the world, you can guarantee 99.9% of those that are consuming the content are doing it on a mobile device. Most people don't even know Instagram.com is a thing. And if you've been on it, it kind of looks weird because the way they have it set up. It's the only, and so interesting enough, when you're thinking about that and you're creating content on Instagram, are you thinking about where those people are in their day-to-day? Are they sitting at their office? Are they commuting on the metro? Are they sitting in ridiculous traffic, acting like they're not looking at their phone when they really are? You have to think about these things when you're creating that content and being strategic with what you're putting out. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of advice on what, right now you might be like, okay, he's been screaming at me and talking really fast for a while. I have no reason but to believe. But now you're like, well, where do I start? Like, what kind of content do I create, Brian? Like, I'm a team of one, or I'm just starting my organization. Or, Brian, like, we're one of the companies that I work with, and I like to kind of put this out there, is I work with a company called Help Erase. Is anyone familiar with Help Erase? The goal is to eliminate childhood trafficking. And it's a very difficult conversation to have. And one of the things that we're working on is we're building virtual reality and augmented reality content backed by a couple really amazing Navy SEALs that started this company called Help Erase. And we've been using live video and content because part of what we're trying to do is give people access to the struggle of childhood trafficking, which is a very topic that not a lot of people want to have a conversation about, let alone post on social media. And part of the thing that we've realized is that the people that are donating, the people that are supporting, the thing that they're asking about is, what are we doing on the back end? How much work are we doing on supporting the children before and after? How much work are we doing working with local organizations, FBI, and so on? And funny enough, when we looked at the content, none of the content we were sharing at the time was about what we as an organization were doing. And I say we, David, I've been advising and I donate my time. I'm not part of that team wholly, because they're doing amazing things. I don't want to act like I'm taking any credit for what they're doing. But one of the things that we realized was we can do video, live video, we can do video Instagram stories, we can start doing video showing all of the work that we put in to what we're doing, allowing people to see what's going on. It's pretty magical when you give people access into who you are, why you do what you do. If you sit around for a week brainstorming on this massive campaign for this massive organization that you're working on, why not do a recap every single day on Instagram stories? Why not do a video interview with the team as you guys walk out of the room talking about all of this amazing work that you're doing? Because that is something you have to think about, and this is what we care about. Because we've all seen the Simon Sinek presentation, right? The why. We all care about the why. But it's not oftentimes, it's not just our why as an organization, not just our why as what you're working on. It's the why of the people you're trying to reach. You have to ask yourself, how do I connect with their why? What is their why for donating? I can tell you, when No Kid Hungry reached out to me, I had just had my third daughter in Arizona, and my ex-wife was working in the schools, and we were dealing with a lot of kids that they qualified but didn't qualify for the free lunches that were going on. And we were doing a lot of things there. And so when No Kid Hungry reached out to me, it was like everything lined up. And I was like, I just had my third kid. I understand the pain points that we're dealing with childhood hunger in the United States. Hell yeah, I'm in. And I've been donating my time now for 6 years. And part of the reason is they did a video behind the scenes they sent me via email that said, Brian, this is our team. We've been researching people that we believe align with our purpose and have passion for what we're doing. We have invited 6 people. You are one of the 6 people. This is a picture of our war room as we were deciding. I've been a member ever since, donating my time because of that access that they gave me. Now, we are living in this mobile now world. I kind of beat that at home a little bit, because mobile is really important, and mobile is the idea where if we trust our team, we understand the training. And when I say training, I mean what to post, what not to post. One of my favorite brands that does this is the Defense Intel. And Julia gave some great examples up here. TSA is one of my favorite accounts to follow in all of Instagram. I love every time they give love. I love, everyone should be just following TSA, because I travel every single week. TSA is the last group that I expected to be witty and fun. They hate that I'm there, in that line and I have my pre-check. But one of the things they do really well is they focus on the real-time mobile engagement. Their Instagram stories are even fun. Well, they'll go behind the scenes and they'll show someone's feet, and then they'll show some random things that they confiscated. And they'll go back, and you're like, that's pretty cool. And so you can do that. And this is something that I think that TSA does really well, and a lot of organizations do really well. Their focus is to shrink the gap between them and their target audience. Your goal isn't to market or sell them. Your goal isn't to tell them what to do. Does anyone like being told what to do? Nobody. Yet we do it really well on video. Why you need this, what you need to do? Well, we need to change that narrative and kind of switch the way that we have these conversations. And on top of switching the narrative, it's also fun to change perspective. This is one of the videos that I recorded for this small hotel known as the Bellagio in Las Vegas. And I'll play it real quick here for you. Oh, do we have volume? It's okay. I think you'll be able to see. Oh, you don't see my margaritas. Let's play one more time. And so what I did was, I was wearing these sunglasses, and I double tapped here on the top. You'll see a little light that comes on. It's currently taking 20 seconds of video content, HD with audio. These are the Snapchat spectacles. You don't have to post it on Snapchat. This was on Instagram. And it was actually reshared on Bellagio's Instagram account for part of what they're doing. I was able to create content via my glasses, doing this via my glasses, providing a unique perspective. These are $149. They take 1080p. The new ones don't look as obnoxious as these ones. I'm kind of one that likes to kind of stand out, so the obnoxious part works. The new ones, if I was wearing them, they look like Oakleys. You won't even be able to tell. But it allows you to record up to 5 minutes of video, 10-second and 20-second clips. It's amazing for me because I have my hands with my daughters, or I'm doing something, or even if I'm, riding go-karts. Look where my hands are. I'm wearing the sunglasses out there, right? This is creating video from a different perspective. We always have talking head video, but what if you can create video when you're hands-free? Or this is me snowboarding in Utah. Wait for it. I had a raspberry from like here down to here for like two months. Funny enough, the ski resort just reposted this last week on their Instagram account. They reached out to me, and it says, "We hope you're recovering from your scrapes and bruises from last season and are excited about the new season opening up," right? And I was like, oh, that's pretty clever, very well done. That video is taken via these sunglasses, and I happen to have them on and work them. And I've done work with Delta Airlines using these sunglasses, providing the perspective of the traveler. To me, things like this, when you're thinking about your organization, if you're doing great causes, even if you have something where your organization is you're stuffing bags on Thanksgiving or whatever the organization is doing, supplying them with sunglasses. One of the groups that we worked with, they actually gave their entire team, 300 employees, they bought them all of their Christmas gift, this. And they said, anytime you create content you think it might be good for us in the company, just upload it to this Google Drive, and if we like it, we'll use it for our company. The idea of setting up your team for success and allowing them to do good things. I'm going to leave you guys with this. Part of the thing that we do wrong in video, and part of the thing I want to inspire you guys to do with video, is we need to start talking with our audience, not talking at them. We need to start allowing them to understand who we are. And then last but not least, if you want my secret for success, amplify and share good. Right now in the world, we have to deal with two things: bad news and fake news. And then we have good stories doing good things. My mission is not marketing. My mission is not sales. My mission is simply believing that the world is a great place and there's lots of great people doing great things. The problem is we spend too much time talking about the bad news and the fake news. And we know that if you live here in DC, it's inundated with our lives. Our job, our goal should be sharing these stories. We're doing a disservice to our community. We're doing a disservice to our society if we are not doing that, if we are not putting ourselves out there, if we are not embracing who we were. This is me in Afghanistan and Iraq. And so I'm going to challenge everyone here in the room. Take something, think about something, open your possibilities and your mind to the opportunity that video allows. It's not about selling, it's not about marketing, it's about sharing the great things you're doing, letting people trust you by looking inside your digital eyeballs. And for the love of God, please just press the damn button. All right? Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Yes.
Take a seat.
All right, I'll take a seat.
So you heard it. Who's doing it really well already? Who would like to be doing it better? So here's your chance to ask some questions to a real expert. I love the Gary Vee style without the F-bombs.
I've heard that multiple times, yes. Yeah. I work for the government and I'm a mama's boy, so I try to stay in my lane.
Really cool. So, questions?
Don't be shy. Oh, there you go, question right there.
It's on, yeah. So if you're working with social organizations and obviously telling the stories of the people you're helping, how do you protect their identity? And it's a real problem with the internet.
It is. And so with Help a Race, that was a big deal for us. And so one of the things we realized was people want their story heard. They don't want them being the face of their story. So we started actually working with them to document their story and have someone like myself actually tell the story for them, right? So the idea here is that you can start telling that story, although not using the people that were there. So we told a story about a family in Miami, and the three of us sat around and we actually told the story from the voices. We interviewed them for an entire day. They didn't want to be on screen. There were some children in the case as well, but allowing people that are comfortable. I think one of the things we forget on video, well, there's two things we forget. First of all, there's a back camera on your phone. Video doesn't always mean you have to be the face of it. Some of the greatest video that you'll see is people interviewing other people talking over the camera. So if you're, hey, this is a great story, or the two of us are sitting here, hey guys, I'm here, the two of us are talking about some cool things here on stage. I'm gonna let Chris tell his story and let him share some of the things he's got going on. That's a way of telling story without you having to control the narrative. It takes a long, I've done 3,500 live videos. it took me a long time to get comfortable with talking into my own camera. And if you're not comfortable, my advice, like the people that I coach, and I give this advice to everyone, if you're not comfortable on video, especially selfie video, I want you to FaceTime with your family 5 times this week. Don't call them, FaceTime. You're gonna realize that your phone is looking up your nose, and you have nose hairs that's now on the screen, so you're gonna put this up. You're gonna get more, oh, I need to be back further, or, oh, I don't look that bad on here. Once you start getting comfortable, it starts getting a lot easier. The problem is, it overwhelms us so much, we're afraid to press the button. And the other thing to remember is, when you record video, no one has to see it. Like, record video, and if you don't like it, there's a delete button for a reason. The amount of people that tell me, Brian, I've been thinking about it, I set everything up, and I'm really ready to go, I'm just really nervous. I'm like, who's gonna see it? It's on your phone. Like, as soon as you're done recording it, so that's something to think about as well. Those are the things. And then the other one is, one of the things that I've learned is asking the question that you think you know the answer already to. For some of the organizations that we worked with, we'd say, I know that you guys probably don't want your face on this story, but would you be willing to do this on video? We get a lot more yeses than we ever imagined. And part of it was because the day and age has changed. You know, we have people that, there's people selling unicorns and rainbows and a lot of BS online. And for a lot of people, they're like, well, I have a good story. I have something good to say. And I'm okay with putting it out there because there's enough people that are going to rally to my support. I think we are living in a different age now where being vulnerable, being authentic, although it will attract the trolls, it will attract hate, it will also rally the troops to support you, which is kind of a cool area. If you would have asked me 3 years ago, I would have never suggested that. But today, in 2019 and beyond, it's pretty amazing. I talk about my ADHD a lot. I was diagnosed ADHD at 31 years old. And when I first shared that, I was looked at, I was laughed at. I even had clients that said they were embarrassed that they were associated with me being someone that was that open about my ADHD. And now it's the opposite, where people say they rally, they watch my Instagram stories because I'm willing to share my vulnerabilities, my mental health struggles. And I think that's part of the cool thing that we're living in this day and age today. Other questions? Don't be shy.
And also for the people on the live stream, feel free to ask questions via Zoom. They'll be, read out here by the technical team.
And I'm my social stuff's up there. iSocialFanz is the name of my brand. My last name is Fanzo, and I'm an Apple fan, so it's iPod, iPhone. iSocialFanz is my brand. Every single channel, I'm iSocialFanz. I like to say I'm on every channel, including TikTok, including Tumblr, Pinterest. I don't believe everyone needs to be on every channel, but pick your favorite channel, give me a follow there. And if you have a question, if you have advice, hey, I took this video, do you think it's worthy? Feel free to reach out and ask me. I love what I do. I reply to every single tweet, over 200,000 tweets I've sent out. Every tweet that's ever been sent and every tweet that's ever been replied has come from me. I don't have a team that runs my social media. I don't have a team that replies for me. Everything I do on that is mine. And I host 2 podcasts that are relative here. One of them is called FOMO Fans, which stands for the fear of missing out. I cure your fear of missing out around digital marketing, entrepreneurship, and online every week. And then the other one is called Just Try This, where we give some ideas of things that anyone can try individually to help tell their stories a little bit better. Question?
Yes, my name is Lisa. I'm from the board of .org.
Okay.
But how long should a video be? Because as you're saying, we have an attention span, and like a 20-minute video is not going to fly on the internet. But do you have like an advice on that?
So some of the most successful videos that I've worked on are actually 20 to 30 minutes long, but they're very strategic 20, 30 minutes long. My advice usually is go long enough that you have good stuff to say and then get the hell off as soon as you're done with value. But giving a little bit more context and concrete to that, it depends on the platform. We've seen that videos are closer to the 10-minute mark work really well on Facebook and LinkedIn. Oh, and I didn't say LinkedIn earlier. If you guys aren't using LinkedIn, throw out all the other advice I just gave you, which is really bad for a speaker, and start using LinkedIn video. LinkedIn video allows you to upload video under 10 minutes long natively to the platform since Microsoft owned it. And for those that are like, wait, LinkedIn? I haven't looked for a job in 5 years. I don't even know what my LinkedIn password is. LinkedIn is a social network that is very valuable right now. And the thing for me that I've learned, I do a weekly video on LinkedIn. Last year, 60% of my closed leads came from LinkedIn. People on Instagram say, Brian, you're amazing. I love you. I can't wait to see you speak. People on LinkedIn say, Brian, I loved your content. How do I hire you? See the difference? For those of us that are trying to get donors, trying to understand. I love Facebook donation. I love how Facebook has built that in. But if you want to connect people that have money that are probably checking in once or twice a week, if that, on LinkedIn, LinkedIn's a great one. But about 7 to 10 minutes on LinkedIn. Instagram, because it's mobile, you need to be really good at engaging that. One of my favorite things to do with anyone that's mobile is change perspectives. So, the thing that I've been studying on TikTok that's really amazing is that people on TikTok, when they're lip syncing to a song, and for those that don't realize, TikTok has more downloads this year than Instagram and Facebook combined. And for anyone that tells you that it's all younger kids, you're completely wrong. My favorite hashtag to follow on TikTok is called Blue Line, which are active duty military and active duty police officers that actually share stories from in their police cars, talking about their lives and things that they have going on, which are pretty darn amazing. But the thing that TikTok does is it allows you to pull your finger off the video and change your perspective. So if you're doing a video for a mobile platform, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, those things, don't be afraid to record a minute of it looking into the camera, a minute of it standing like this, a minute of it walking, because every time you change the perspective, it allows us to further engage to figure out where you're going. Little things like that, like my Snapchat videos, I will actually start my video sometimes with my sunglasses, giving people that crazy perspective, and then flip it to my most successful video ever is 5 tips on to make working from home successful. Sounds really sexy, right? Like that's my most sexy. But part of it was because I did the 5 tips on the video from 5 different perspectives. So part of it from me, part of it from my sunglasses, part of it from my GoPro as my GoPro, part of it when I put up a GoPro in my Jeep and allowed my daughters in the Jeep to tell the story from there. And then the last one was me walking and talking through the mall. And that video, I believe, is successful just as much for the content, but the idea that I shared a perspective. People have heard tips on working from home from anyone, but I actually allowed them to come with me, and that's something to think about as well. So there's not really a direct answer. I will tell you, if you're using live video, you want to go 7 minutes long, at least. The reason is they push out another set of notifications on Instagram, on Facebook, on Periscope, on YouTube. Once you hit the 7-minute mark, they won't say that publicly, but we've kind of done a lot of studies on the actual 7-minute mark is like kind of the sweet spot where when you first go live, they push it out to your most engaged audience. And then at the 7-minute mark, they put out a reminder to those that have engaged with you in the last 30 days. And so that's something to think about when you're doing live video like Facebook Live, Instagram Live. And I do think live video is really good for things that you're doing behind the scenes. If you have a big event going on, you're doing something offline, something like this, why not go live at the end of the day-to-day and give people 5 takeaways that you learned from this event? That kind of live engagement can really work for social video. Other questions? I think we probably have one time for one more.
So,
yeah or no?
any more questions in the room? So we'll wrap up the morning session. It's interesting. We started with websites, really, with Julia talking about websites, which is something that we really control. It's something that we own. And then Julia sort of moved on a little bit to social media, which is really something that we don't own per se anymore, right? It's something that creates access for the people that need to be consuming our information. We need to be where they are, right? It's an access point. And then we moved into video, and that's where now we've got speed to information. Notice how everything's speeding up. The closer we get to the digital ecosystem, the faster it starts to become, and you're like a walking testimony of that, right? But also, when you start communicating information via video, you're creating abundant content, right? And so this is sort of the way you need to be thinking, is how do I create flow to information? How do I give speed to information? How do I get it into the right place? How do I get it to people who should care, who do care, and they just don't know it yet? And just as a final question, I think there's a lot of people, and I'm one of them, I understand that content needs to be created. I understand that I need to be making videos to connect with the people I need to connect with. On a strategic level, what are the first 2 or 3 questions I need to be answering in the sort of content I would create? Regardless of what my goal is, what are the strategic questions I need to be asking myself and answer so that I can start on a path of creating content that's going to get me to the next step?
That's a good one. I think one of the things you have to start thinking about is, first off, don't be afraid to ask your audience. If you have an email newsletter, one of the things that we've worked, and it works every time, email on your email newsletter and say, hey, we're thinking about doing a new video campaign, and we're thinking about doing more video. We'd love for you to reply to this email. Yes, you have to have an email newsletter that allows replies, because it's kind of weird that we still have emails that don't. But ask them, reply to this email and give us your favorite social network and something you'd love to hear us do on video. You'd be amazed how your audience is like, they just asked me for my opinion? Holy, and they will jump at the opportunity. That works really well. I think the other things are, access to your why and why you do what you do, but in the sense of not pitching them, but tell them a story that connects the dots to what gets you excited when you wake up in the morning. Why are you so passionate about what you're doing? For me, part of it is Iraq and Afghanistan, coming home and realizing that I had a great story that was so different from what I was being fed by the media and my friends. And then I just wanted to tell everyone. And now it's the motivation where I believe all of us have great stories to tell, and my job is to help us tell them. I don't care if it's marketing, sales, I don't care what the organization is. And so that's a good one to do. And then another one to think about is look at your content today. What is the best piece of content you have? Do a video on it. Look at your best blog, your best email newsletter, your most engaged Instagram post, and do a video about it. It's amazing how we forget, and this is something I'm guilty of this as well, is we often worry about creating new content for new audiences rather than looking at the content that's really worked and taking that to a new audience. And then last but not least, I guess from an advice perspective, content creation does not need to be overwhelming. You can take one piece of content and turn it into multiple things. Every Monday, well, it was every Monday, but I've been traveling a lot now, but every week I do a 35-minute live video on Facebook Live of my podcast. It's me talking into a microphone. I don't interview people because I didn't want to manage calendars. And 35 minutes where I talk about a topic for 35 minutes, right? I take that video, I cut it up to my favorite 1-minute clip, it goes on Instagram. My favorite 5-minute clip, it goes on LinkedIn. My favorite 10-minute clip goes on Facebook. I put it into a transcribe service that is free. It transcribes it. Someone on my team takes it and turns it into a blog post. At the end of the month, we take all 4 videos, we take our favorite quotes from those 4 videos, we turn it into an infographic that we then put out. I take one 30-minute piece of content, I turn it into 8 pieces of content in a week, and I am a team of 1.5. I have 2 people that work 15 hours a week for me. That's all I have. And so that's my other advice is stop trying to create a crap ton of content, create one great piece of content regularly, and then take it and craft it to your different audiences. Remember, I didn't say I take that entire 30-minute video and put it on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter. I take the clips that I think are important. Like for LinkedIn, I always take a thought leadership quote. Like if I'm saying something that's very like leadership, that's the clip I put. I put that on LinkedIn. I say, if you want to listen to the rest of the podcast, go use this link and listen to the rest. I don't sell them, I don't market them, I don't trick them. And so that's where I would go on the advice is focus on great content, get it where it's at. Don't be afraid to ask your audience. And then last but not least, press the damn button.
Great. Thank you, Brian. There you have it. Thing you learned this morning. And this is the one thing that you're going to start implementing the moment you walk out this room this afternoon.